All right.
All right.
Okay, so I am Sean Cotter. I am my screen just very. Hold on. There we go. Speaker view. That's a little better. Um, Hi, I'm Sean Cotter. I am the executive director for Wicked Queer. I'm here with the directors and writers of Death Drop Gorgeous, Ryan, Brandon, and Michael. And we're here to chat about the film.
Yay.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. And also, I want to make an announcement in case people have not heard. This is our first sold-out show, so congratulations. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you have questions for our gentlemen directors, please put them in the chat field. We will be monitoring them, and I'll be inserting them in with my own ramblings. I hope everyone poured themselves something cold and maybe alcoholic. I'm not going to a little wine myself. So, but let's get sort of into it, I guess.
Let's do it.
What's happening behind the bingo curtain?
Yeah, nothing to see here.
69.
We're at Pablo Facadoni's.
So, I guess my first question is, tell me, I mean, when you guys sent me this film as a submission, I was like, I don't know what to expect from this, but I love the title, and I loved the trailer. Like, the trailer was really kind of the thing that sold me, because I always watch everyone's trailer before I actually delve into the submission, because I'm like, all right, let's see what this is all about. I was frightened by the length of it, I have to admit, but you guys have sorted it out in the final cut.
Yeah.
So, the first cut is what I saw is not the cut that everyone saw, which is amazing. You guys made amazing decisions. But tell me how this movie came about.
Go for it.
You start the journey.
So Chris Stolpe is the other co-writer and director. He couldn't be here tonight. He wishes he could be here, but he unfortunately can't. Me and him had this crazy stoner idea at his sister's house about we were talking about how these gay hookup apps are meant for serial killers, and how gay men are devoid of being able to see red flags. So you could kind of if you're a serial killer, you can really just bring them anywhere and do your thing. So we also were just kind of talking about things we weren't seeing in horror that we wanted to see, especially queer representation was huge too. So we had this idea years ago, and then I was talking with Mike one night, and I brought up this idea we had. And he's like, well, why don't we make it into a movie? I'm like, okay. So that people have seen the movie know there's more than just the app in there too. So we decided to incorporate these other elements too. The thing with Gloria Hole. And people I don't want to give anything away, but with the young drag queens versus the old drag queens, and our main character who is a gay black man, him kind of navigating his way through the LGBTQ world, and being a black guy. So we kind of want to incorporate these elements into it too. And Mike was like, let's do it, and we did it. And it took a long time, but we're here, and it's
Yeah, I guess it was never. We also never we didn't start it, and we weren't we're definitely going to make a movie. It was just let's just do this project together and have fun with it, and we'll just go as far as it goes. And if we finish a script or if we have a full movie, great. But it wasn't so rigid. It was kind of open, and we just kind of dove in and just kept going.
And there wasn't really a timetable for you guys either in the beginning.
Yeah.
It took a year to write it, and it was just a lot of maker's mark.
Right.
And just meeting once or twice a week and putting the script together, which was way too long. At the end, I think it was 130 pages.
Yeah, you thought our movie was long before.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more.
Part 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have done a Lord of the Rings trilogy or something.
In our brains too, we thought it would be oh, this is gonna take a couple years. We got this, and then we started really kicking it into motion. I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah.
And here you are.
And here we are.
Yeah.
What I also love about this too, and what kind of really attracted me to the project, is I kind of fell in love with you guys. You guys are the local filmmakers, and as someone who's a hometown filmmaker myself, I was like, I've got to use my platform and my sort of programming platform to kind of promote and foster like local filmmakers. And you guys, I mean, you guys did an amazing feat, like pulling off a feature-length film. I mean, what was your budget?
It was less than $20,000, and that was all fundraised. So we like did crowdsourcing. We coordinated and fundraised like in the clubs in Providence, like 2 or 3 different events.
We threw a few events with some drag performers and raised money that way.
Yeah, and then people just kept getting roped into our master plan here.
And also I'll add that on paper the budget may look small, but like we had a lot of opportunities available to us that other people might not, in part because this was like a local community effort. And there's a lot of people that are amazing people, like who work at businesses here, like work at the Dark Lady, which is the club that the Outhouse is at. And then other like restaurants and places like that, other venues that allowed us to film there, that basically were just like super nice and let us do it for free. So they were like, you can come use this space. So for some outsider, the budget might have been a lot more, but like we were able to work with a lot of amazing people that donated a lot of like time and volunteered. So
yeah.
I'm telling you, once the queers start networking, shit gets done. So it's like there's a need and a want there, and a community there that wants to help and make these projects come to life. And even like with straight allies too, we just had so many different people come together, from the music to like clothing designers, musicians. Our buddy Tom with a pickup truck to help us steal my desk in the movie out of an abandoned building. Like, so there was like a lot of these little things that went into it, and people did it because they believed in the project, like we did. And it was just really like a really nice experience too, just to kind of have that community and family all over the board. So that was kind of fun.
Well, that's, I mean, I love you guys. I have to say, you guys pulled it off.
Oh, thank you.
You did it well, and I'm actually really excited to have hosted your premiere. And so, where's this film going next?
Ontario.
So we've gotten into a few film festivals. Some of them, the dates are up in the air still. Sometimes they keep getting pushed back, of course, because of COVID. I think the next one, as of now, is actually in Ontario, Canada. It's Shock Stock. Shock Stock Film Festival. And normally they obviously would hold an in-person event. And actually what they're going to do is they've secured some spots at some drive-in theaters at, I think, like 3 different cities. So they're actually just going to show the films at the drive-ins, which is super cool. But unfortunately, since our passports don't work in America right now, we won't be able to attend any of them. So hopefully we'll see pictures of it. But yeah, that's where it'll be next.
I mean, I feel like I want to steal that sort of idea and find some connection to a drive-in. Although the drive-ins around Boston are like not very good at all. They're all like overgrown by weeds and stuff like that. I mean, which could be fun. I mean, it's a whole other atmosphere, especially like if some grass is coming out of asphalt and breaking through, it's a little spooky. Could put some.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few like clubs and bars around here that are doing like outdoor projections onto other buildings. So I know that the venue Dusk that we filmed at had the bands play. They're doing some outdoor stuff too. So I think if people are curious about doing it in their own communities, you might be able to do it with projectors in outdoor areas, which is kind of cool.
That's great. We'll have to cook up some more local screenings.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your influences as horror fans and as queer filmmakers.
It's kind of funny because all of us come from such a different place. I hate speaking for Chris, but like he's not here, but he loves like kind of like comedy horror. He's a fan of Evil Dead movies.
Death Becomes Her. He really loves. He loves Death Becomes Her.
Mike and I are not a fan of comedy horror. Like I'll watch them. It's not my favorite.
But we made one.
I'm more of a big fan of like folk horror and fantasy horror. Huge Clive Barker fan. It's kind of like my area.
Yeah, I think our more obvious influences on Death Drop are obviously like John Waters,
Abel Ferrara.
Like Driller Killer, 80s B movies and like slashers. But I think like the ones that might not necessarily aesthetically come through, like we were really inspired by the movie Tangerine and how they did what they did, like, and did it so well. And I think that was really inspiring. But even like other weird films, like obviously Gloria Hole is so over the top, and she's like multifaceted and molded from so many different strong women. But like Sunset Boulevard reminds me of Gloria Hole a lot. Like that's like an influence that might not necessarily like look like it wasn't our influence, but I think it like comes through a little bit in some moments with her.
Gloria Swanson and Mick Stoll kind of wrapped up in one. Because she's
Yeah,
I just love Mick Stoll in her as well.
Yeah.
There's a scene that she's in her house, in the bathroom. She's like smoking, and it's just like she just was giving me some serious Mick Stoll vibes there, and I was just like, all right.
That house was so, I don't know, like, thank God.
It was so Rhode Island.
It was so Rhode Island, and it was so Gloria Hole. Even that bathroom, that's why I really love that the promo shot that kept going around was just that cigarette hanging out of her mouth in that bathroom, because it's like, what the fuck is this movie? And I don't know, I just really like that is the main image that's been going around.
Well, that's the one I like. You gave me your like all these photos, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm gonna pick the like as a camp and trash. Like my sort of like wheelhouse is exploitation film, porn, camp, B movies. I love like anything that's older and like ridiculous, like B movies. I mean, I grew up watching Elvira, and Creature Double Feature. So it's like we have it in sort of in our like it's in my DNA to sort of really respond to that. So when I was faced with a choice of all these lovely images that you gave me, I was just like, that's the one.
No, even before it, I loved that photo and that like fucking caftan she's wearing, and then even like the lime green like eyeshadow she has on. It's just like the whole thing. The whole thing is
that shade of pink lipstick she had on like burnt the retina of the camera too. It's like this toxic nuclear pink.
So the question from our feed, because I'll keep, and people, if you have questions, please type them into the chat box. We want this to be a conversation, so it shouldn't just be all of us talking. So it says, Russ says, I noticed throughout the film the use of religious iconography as weapons, the Virgin Mary statue, the statue. Was this intentional subtext of the use of religion as a weapon against queer communities?
So at the end, with the nativity scene, we did have that in mind. We just thought the irony of like, killing our villain with baby Jesus was kind of like, what we just said. The little Jesus that Chris grabs at that point was kind of on accident. We were looking for a weapon in the room and found that Jesus. And we're like, that's the one.
Yeah, and I mean, we all have like irreverence in our blood, I think, and so we gravitate towards those sorts of things. So we're like, oh, what could we do to sort of like be, provocative? All right, great.
Yeah, the red Jesus that Chris grabs was actually just a very nice coincidence, because we always had that Dwayne and the baby Jesus at the end, like that was written in the script, but I think originally in the script Chris was gonna grab like a lamp or something, but then we found that and we're like the perfect like I don't know, because towards the end
Gloria's like Christ-like trajectory with like coming back and
like coming back from the dead.
Well, no, I mean she's just completely reborn. So,
totally.
Which is kind of like, and looking fabulous. And I love the little Thelma and Louise moment at the end. And let's talk about tragedy. I love you gotta love a queen named Tragedy. I mean, she had the most like iconic moments in the film, like popping out like, "Ooh, I'm the vampire," which is like just this like sort of almost red herring, but not. In the context of the film, and just amazing. And she kind of like gave me Phantom of the Paradise kind of vibes as well, which I absolutely adore. And there was a lot, actually, a little bit of that throughout your film too. It's a little Phantom of the Paradise, kind of like the colors and sort of like that gold mask that the
totally.
Absolutely.
That drag queen is a local queen named Complete Destruction, and she is fantastic. If you ever see her on a bill, I highly recommend it. She's great.
Yeah,
she's definitely made a fan of me. Your film, so good. So
Dragula is listening. Get her. She should be on that show.
No, seriously. Like, I mean, it should be. I think I would watch.
Yeah.
So I mean, how is it finding like the sort of the casting and the talent too? I mean, I know the community kind of came together, but you still have to pick from that sort of pool of people.
We sort of had to pick. So I feel like we had open casting and people like showed up for us, but essentially it was almost like if you showed up, you kind of got a role.
We did finding roles for like
we had to like figure out who would be best. Obviously with Complete, we kind of typecasted her, but she brought it to another level. Obviously,
they even called us out on that too.
Yeah.
He typecasted me.
Yeah.
I mean, also, so Peyton St. James, who plays Gloria Hull, she's an actor. Like she's been in various productions.
Second Story Theater it's not Newport, is it? It's in Rhode Island.
Barrington?
Yeah,
Barrington maybe.
Well, so in terms of like casting her for that character, we knew from the beginning that's who we were going to use, not just because she's amazingly talented, but that character is based on an actual Providence legend, a drag queen that was here for decades named Kitty Litter.
Yes.
Yeah,
as you see in the film.
Yeah, exactly. Who actually is the drag mother that you see who's deceased in the photo in the film. And so Peyton is a lifelong friend of Kitty Litter and knows Kitty Litter up and down. And so we're like, well, if Kitty Litter can't play this character because Kitty Litter had moved away at the time.
She can't read also.
And she also probably can't read. Yeah. True. I don't mind her hearing me say that.
No.
But Peyton, we're like, well, you know this character in and out, so like we have to have you. And she read for the role, and it was just like obvious. We're like, this is it,
That's great. She was the driving force behind the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And Janet Finnis, we chose to. So at first, we really wanted Janet Finnis herself to play Janet Finnis, and then there was a period of time we weren't sure if they were very busy and had a lot going on. They got to the point where we're like, she needs to play this role, so we're kind of like, you're doing it, and she did it and fucking killed it. She did so good.
Yeah.
I can't picture anyone else doing that role. So.
Well, speaking of Janet, there's a comment in the field that talks about Dan is saying that he's fully gagged at how much of a bitch monster y'all made Janet, and he was in stitches the entire time. But his question is, which murder scene was the most difficult to shoot or configure?
Oh, well, we do the first part of that. I do want to say that Pidge, Janet Finnis in real life is an angel, and he just knew what we were going for and the tone he needed to bring with each line, which was really funny. Hardest kill scene.
I would say the
ones that we didn't have the ones that we had to do ourselves. So for the most part, Victoria Black from Dragula season 2, if you watch that show, she was a finalist on it, and Scott C. Miller, who is a local special effects artist in Massachusetts. They both did a bulk of the kill scenes. I think we ourselves, how many did we do ourselves? 2?
We did Mike's and Chris's.
Yeah, so the heel and the eye we did. Wayne did a lot of that, actually. Wayne and Chris. And then I think the opening kill actually was the hardest. We actually filmed that twice.
It almost burned Mike's face.
Yeah.
So if you're out there making films, latex and Alka-Seltzer have a very nasty reaction that we weren't aware of.
This is a good PSA for the kids. Not do latex and Alka-Seltzer.
Yeah, he had like the prosthetic on, and then we really wanted him to foam at the mouth. And there was just like one point where we were like waiting for like things to get going, and then he was like, "Guys, it's kind of burning," and we were like, get water." We filmed that scene twice because the first time we did it, it didn't really turn out the way we wanted it, and then so we did it a second time with the green lights and everything, and with a different car. Actually, we really are happy with the car we used. Our friend came through and let us borrow his. I don't know cars, so I don't know the make or model, but it's
blue.
It's a very blue old car, and it's lovely.
I will say for other reasons too, though, like the death scene at the end, like with Brandon, that was a big
That was the longest
undertaking,
day,
and
yeah.
that's
A long,
Victoria Black
long day.
helped us with that, along with her boyfriend Opulence Black, and that was a long day. Brandon also had this like whole belly prosthetic attached to him, and he was tied up in this chair, and so like couldn't get up. And so was basically stuck there for like 6 hours. I think you were seated in
Yeah.
that chair during
Longer than
filming.
6 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. So I think it was like probably the most grueling. I think.
That's true. That's probably true.
Yeah.
One thing that was really hard too. So for Chris's death, we had to saw half of a heel off of a heel to like create that illusion. So we thought it'd be easy. Oh, just get a saw, cut it off. So we got a normal saw, couldn't do it. We got like one of those like metal like saws you can cut through like chain link with, wouldn't do it. So Chris works for the Steel Yard, which is this place that does like metal work, and we had to bring it down there, and they had like a fucking hell of a time cutting that fucking heel.
They had an electric saw that they cut steel with, and they actually really struggled with cutting through this high heel.
So, yeah.
And it turns out that like there's like titanium or something.
It's
in
like
these heels.
extraterrestrial titanium they must have like got from the moon.
I mean, I
Like,
guess when you have like a size 13 drag queen shoe, they expect like this needs to be built to last and to like really, like hold up these larger characters who are
Right.
jumping around on stage.
you can frack with them.
Oh yeah, totally.
Well, you want a sturdy foundation anyway.
Yeah.
Even if it gets caught in those damn floorboards.
Floorboards.
Brandon, I have to say that your acting as the club owner was a slice of ridiculousness. So was that based on anybody, or was a combination of characters? Because it was so like offensive and like sweaty. That it was kind of amazing.
So it's based on a couple of bosses I had. It's funny. My old bar manager messaged me. He's like, "Was that blah blah blah?" And I was, yeah. But there was another boss that was a combo of two. It's about as like old school Rhode Island as you can get. Like the misgendering, like calling a drag queen a tranny, like all these things. It's just the passive racism. Like it's just we wanted it all in there. I feel like we needed to make that character as like unlovable as possible, and we did. Well, yeah. He's just such an asshole. Like,
yeah, you're like almost cheering his death at the end, which is kind of
yeah.
like you're like, go vampires, go.
Right.
Right.
That's like fun and dumb as the dialogue is. Like we really wanted to make the unlovable, like the shitty characters shitty. Like we wanted people to like cheer from them when they get killed. Like in old 80s slashers, like they like were really good at crafting these like shitty characters that you're just waiting to get killed. So like we wanted to make sure that like that element was in there too. It's like I don't want people to be like, oh, when that person dies. So we kind of like knocked out of the park, I think.
Yeah.
So there's a comment from the field, kind of on the same kind of thread that we're talking about was the message about the shelf life and exploitive use of the performers deliberate. There was a great theme I noticed about how we use people and then throw them away. It made me wonder if Glory Hole was actually the villain by the end, which, in my opinion, I feel like she was trying to rise out of all of that.
Yeah.
As
So
flawed as she was.
that's a great question.
That's a great question.
Oh my god, where to begin? So we are definitely making commentary, on exploiting and shelf life, and sort of the ageism gap between like two forms of drag that we were witnessing in our communities. And I think that I don't think Gloria is obviously our anti-hero. I don't think we collectively view her as like, I mean, she's a villain, right? She's killing people, so she's a villain. But we are all rooting for her at the end. But I do like the sort of like, what I like about it is like the head, turning it on its head. So she was used, discarded, and then so she uses young people, then discards them to get what she wants. So it's kind of like this, you do unto others what's been done to you.
Totally.
And just like, I feel like, and I'm not speaking for like any businesses in particular too, but I feel like even like with certain businesses and certain television shows that kind of like, run these drag queens into the ground too and try to squeeze every dime they can out of them. And these are human beings under there too. Drag costs money. It's a lot of work. I mean, you're creating these performances, and we want to kind of get that across too, that there are human beings under there. Like as crazy as Gloria gets on her killing spree, like you see these moments of emotion where like this person was driven to the point of slaughtering people to get a Saturday night at her track bar. So yeah, there's a lot there.
It was just really funny at the we were at some point during production, we were like, wait, Gloria's doing all of this so she can work Saturday night at this failing bar. We just stopped and we're like, wait, that's her
all
exterior motivation is that it's all for a Saturday night, which we were kind of like, yeah, okay.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Hey, good spots are hard to find.
Right, yeah.
Totally.
I mean, the other thing I'm like, and I don't want to be too many. Oh, actually, wait. Someone wrote the cigarette baby carriage, which I was also going to just mention too. I love that of just her on the bench in that fur coat and please, and fuck you, Providence. I was like, oh my god.
We didn't know who that baby or that person were at all. Yeah, we kind of were like, just do it.
Just give him a little credit.
We were amazed at the baby's acting abilities. The side eye he delivered was so. It was like, that's the shot.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
I mean, James has put in the field. It's the whole film is like an homage to Providence. It's you love it and hate it. Your Providence in jokes were kind of amazing too. University, I was like, what? when I heard that, I was just like, oh my god. Just kind of went there.
That joke was actually written halfway through because we actually just had Brown University to start with, and then we started getting concerned about being sued, and we didn't know what the specifics were with that.
Right.
So we're like, we just need to change it to something else. And then I forget who it was.
I think it was Chris.
Chris was just how about we just do beige? And we're like, that's it.
Because you get the reference immediately if you know Providence.
Yeah,
but
right.
At the same time, it's kind of funny, and also the color beige really kind of has this sort of cachet. A beige university,
right? Exactly.
As an Ivy League is
we're not brown, we're beige. Yeah.
The only time that word is ever used is when describing those Dockers pants or those there's no other word time.
Unless it's fluorescent beige, and that's a whole different color. So one of the other here's another question, or maybe a comment. Actually, I can turn the comment into a question because that's what I'm going to do right now. So Joshua wrote in the chat is I really appreciated the giallo style of the kills and how queer the whole production was. Congrats on the production and getting to enjoy it now with audiences. Was there anything you wanted to include but weren't able to do?
That's a good question. I feel like we got the majority of our vision into the film.
Yeah.
Trying to think of anything we wanted.
I mean, we did, as I mentioned earlier, the script started out much longer. It was edited down way down before filming. But then even after filming, we had a few scenes that we had to edit out. So I think originally the first cut was 2 hours and 10 minutes or something. And then we cut it down 10 minutes, and then we cut it down another 15 minutes. So there is footage that we had that we intended on being in there, but we had to figure out what can we take out that won't change the essence of the story and won't affect continuity.
Yeah.
And that was a huge undertaking. But
chopping it up felt a little personal. Obviously, we had been working on it for so long and been working so hard that even initially, when we showed people earlier cuts, and their first comment was it needs to be cut down. We were very offended at first. We were and we almost didn't want to do it. And then slowly we sat with that note and we kept being okay, well, where can we go? And what can we remove? So that took a long time. So there's so much footage that we really love, and scenes and moments and more one-liners that are just not there, but it's for the best of a better movie.
I will say for one specific scene that you actually brought up the other day is the cops actually were supposed to make out with each other whenever when one of them when the first one gets hit, and then Mike's character is standing over his body, crying. They were actually supposed to kiss, but it turns out that the blood that we were going to use, or that the special effects artist was using, he told us oh, this is toxic, you're not supposed to get it in your mouth. And so his face was already covered with it. So we're all right, we'll have to We'll have to leave that out.
I never
so.
got my on-screen kiss.
Yeah.
Next time, or uh, film a deleted scenes. I don't know.
Right. For the OnlyFans.
There's always next time. So I want to circle back to Giallo because I am a big Giallo fan, and I obviously know that you guys are too. So Giallo, for anybody who doesn't know, is it's pretty much predominantly an Italian sort of like horror genre, and it's very stylish. The sort of shots are very composed. It's usually a lot of bright colors. The kills are very over the top and also very gory. So tell me a little bit about your sort of Gallo influences and sort of how you sort of worked to kind of distill them into Death Drop Gorgeous.
So part of the reason why we chose to do that is we really wanted to paint this picture of like how the drag queens thought of the nightlife. Like there's just big, colorful, extra vibrant, like almost like Hollywood-esque, like just nightlife. Like the town itself during the day, we wanted to kind of drab and gray and brown and beige. And then at night, just making it just as vibrant as humanly possible. Like what a better vehicle than, you know, the Giallo films and just having that like psychedelia, the extreme lighting, just kind of even blowing the colors out sometimes too. We just really wanted to make it like this beautiful nightlife that just looks like another place, like you've been like transported away, but like at the end of the day, sun comes up, it's Providence. And so we're kind of just trying to create that mindset.
Yeah, and I think like there's something magical about it that we wanted to convey. We're all big fans of the original Suspiria, and I think that's like where we drew in, like Mario Bava. But yeah, like the hands and the gloves and like the knives, like obviously like clear nods to those films.
And I also think that your basement kills too also had such a lot of Giallo sort of energy in there as well, with all the plastic and like. And I also wanted to mention too, because I'm sure my team would be amiss if I didn't mention this, the glory hole. That our poor little whatever his name is, like I called him.
His name was Ivy League.
Yeah, he didn't have a name.
That's what we call him.
Yeah.
We're gonna call him Hanging Chad. So I want to know, what kind of meat were you guys using in that meat grinder?
That's a good question. So the majority of the cast, I mean, the crew is vegetarian, so we use tofu dogs, and the sausages when the glory hole transitions were field roast, lentil, and apple seeds. We hashtag them or add them in a lot of the scenes too. We got no response.
Yeah, they didn't get back to us.
So no animals were harmed except for the pup.
Yeah, that's amazing. I kind of want now a cut of that with like hashtag field roast.
Yeah, we talked about doing
hashtag I swallow.
Yeah.
Field roast. I mean, also like the musical numbers too are kind of really amazing. I mean, you have that kind of like the punk energy from the nightclub with the band playing, but you also, I mean, the drag performances were kind of like they're so amazing, and even Gloria's sort of like misguided claim to getting her moment on a Saturday night had some sort of magic to it.
Yeah,
a sparkle dancer and like
yeah. That moment is it's so, oh god, it's so weird. Wayne wrote the lyrics to that song actually, which the lyrics are just like hashtag I swallow, give me your gravy daddy, and that's just on loop.
The Kids Bop version is way better, I'm not gonna lie.
And that was actually, I mean, a lot of those songs, actually, I think all of the drag queen performances were original music.
Yeah.
Written for the film by talented artists who are friends of ours. So.
Yeah. So like the very first song that Gloria does on her Tuesday night, that really beautiful piano ballad, was written by a friend of mine named Jackie Campbell, who's a very obscenely talented musician, and she actually wrote that like way before we started filming. It was for our Kickstarter video. She read the script and like got to her piano and just wrote this like weird, awesome rock opera ballad. So every drag queen performance, a friend of ours or a musician like that decided to be roped into this mayhem wrote a song.
Except the one exception is at the end, Young Gloria's. That's a song by Human Beast called Chandelier that did already exist, but we loved it and we're like, we just want to go full crazy with this. And yeah.
So some Providence peeps, and then moving to New York City, but they were fantastic.
Yeah,
it's so good. I mean, the piano moment of Gloria's Tuesday night gig too also was very Phantom of the Paradise. The song just kind of reminded me of Phantom of the Paradise too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That like rock energy, like of oh my god, what I can't even think of her name. Who's the object of desire in Phantom of the Paradise?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, why am I drawing a blank? All right. Well, anyways, moving on from there, I want to address some comments in the field because these are really funny that are coming in. So someone from Facebook wrote apostrophe, totally have the hots for Tony Two Fingers. Tony No Fingers now.
So,
or abdomen.
So,
honestly,
I just want to say the other day, it's funny, Brandon actually, we were waking up, this is, I think it was yesterday, and like comments from people, like so many people have commented that Tony Two Fingers was like weirdly hot to them. And he was like, should I just start slicking my hair back with like oil and just like wearing this
bronzer.
Big gold chain and bronzer and just be Tony Two Fingers now? So I was like, if you want to try it out, I'm fine. Like, go ahead.
You know, why not? A little, switch it up a little bit.
I'm doing it wrong.
Well, I think also it was like his puppy too. Like, his obsession with puppies, was kind of appealing. I'm an animal lover myself. So,
yeah.
So also from Facebook, people are demanding a director's cut. So
I hope you got time.
Something on the horizon to think about.
Yeah, it's definitely something we've been considering. Yeah.
It's like half the Lord of the Rings trilogy long.
Yeah.
Well, you have to leave also something for the deleted scenes on the Blu-ray.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Because that's always the part of it. I mean, I just got the Paris is Burning Blu-ray.
Nice.
I'm excited about like 2 hours of deleted scenes. I'm like,
oh yeah,
it's amazing.
Oh yeah.
So James wrote in the feed the prequel, the story of Tony Two Fingers.
Right.
Well, actually, it would be Tony Five Fingers.
Right. How he lost his first 2 fingers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably snitched.
Yeah.
Right? You can do the prequel, and then you can do like Tragedy and Gloria on the road, on the land.
Yeah.
And it could be a road movie. I mean, what a brilliant idea for the sequel to be a road movie.
Yeah, like Gloria and Tragedy take on P-Town.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that will be a very like Death Becomes Her type thing where they're just like their bodies are falling apart and they're doing what they can, scraping by to even live.
To stay young.
A question from the feed is, how collaborative was your process with the cast? Did people come up to you with ideas for their characters, or did you already have a clear idea of what you wanted?
We definitely had clear ideas for a lot of the cast and a lot of the story and how the characters should be. But with the drag queens, like all costuming, each actor brought on set. And that includes the drag queens. They came, I mean, we had some direction with certain scenes, specifically Young Gloria, and how she was to dress when she first goes to the club to do her Chandelier performance. But all those queens, we gave them a lot of leeway to create what they saw from the page. So,
and they're also so funny too. A lot of them that it would just always be the case that we would do multiple takes of things, and sometimes we'd always be like, all right, now we're gonna deviate from the script, do whatever you want, if you want to ad lib, whatever. And often that's the take that we would use because they would just say hilarious things. So.
Yeah. And we can't say enough about Peyton St. James, but Peyton would always come to set so prepared, but then also be like, so I have an idea. And probably 10 times out of 10, it's the take we use. It was anything she brought was grade A. It was just so good. So yeah, it was very collaborative, I think, in how they executed the characters.
I mean, it was really good. I mean, really good. I mean, you could tell that everyone was sort of having fun and kind of really vibing too, because it was so very successful,
Thank
which is
you.
kind of great. And if anybody has questions, please put them up in the chat. So, what? I mean, I know you're still basking in the glow of this, but do you have other things sort of coming down the pike that you want to work on? Something next now that you've gotten your feet wet?
Yeah.
Per
So
se?
the three of us live together, which is fun. And during quarantine, we actually wrote a new script, like a full script that we're currently getting some notes on from like talented friends. So we just finished a script, and we're actually working on other little things. There's another one we're kind of brainstorming as of late too. So hopefully another production. We'll see. Like
Another horror film? Yes.
Yeah, both are horror.
both are
Yeah.
horror, but both are very different from Death Drop. Like they won't. One's a little more akin, I think, but that'll be definitely different energies.
I mean, you know, I know how you guys are not fans of comedy horror, but like, I think you guys, for not being fans, they did a really amazing job of sort of creating a comedy horror universe.
Yeah, we created a very surreal Providence.
Yeah, we had a lot of material to work with, though. I
Yeah.
mean, like living here and knowing the people in the scene. I mean, it's like so much of it was based. Obviously, it's a more surreal, fantastical version of like what has happened here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a lot of inspiration.
Yeah.
Because the bar we filmed it at, the club, his real name is The Dark Lady. They're fantastic. It's a great bar. They just like kind of let us do whatever we wanted, and we're so kind. So it's not, you know, that it's not like that in real life. So Tony's not the boss.
Yeah.
I mean, though it is set in Providence and it does have a Providence vibe, it does have a universality to it because, you know, these situations are going on around the world. And that's kind of that's really, you know, one of the things that, like, you know, even if you don't know the sort of like that world of Providence, you still can kind of relate to the story of sort of being over. You know, it is like, you know, Sunset Boulevard, that kind of stuff. It has that sort of like classic tale, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess my last question, unless someone has something in the chat for you guys, is as queer filmmakers and queer filmmakers who are making genre films, how important is genre filmmaking to you? And where do you think the future of genre filmmaking is as a queer filmmaker should be?
I mean, I think all of us are like horror fans, and I just think horror is just so diverse in what you can do with it. There's so many different branches of it and ideas, and you know, horror means different things to different people. And I think growing up queer, I think a lot of the times, you know, we side with these horror movies, and you know, these sometimes the villains and sometimes these anti-heroes, because I think, you know, growing up in this society like the way we do in America, being gay, like you kind of are an outsider, and you kind of bond with horror, which is kind of an outsider genre. Like our movie, even though it's like a love letter to Providence, it really is like a love letter to the outsiders in the queer community. You know, and in our movie, like there's not really any like outside villains to our community. It's the community itself and like what happens. But you know, I think using horror and like camp comedy as a vehicle to address these issues allows it to be a little bit more lighthearted in how we talk about it, because it's so fucking campy. I mean, obviously we could have went very dark with it and delivered that same message, but I think that it'd been totally a lot more scathing and mean. And that doesn't really allow you to open up for dialogue. And that's something we were kind of cognizant of when filming this too. We had to kind of scale it back sometimes. Like,
yeah. I think I'm really so. I think there's been a plethora of queer horror that's come out, and I'm not gonna like bash or name names, but a lot of it's not great. But there have been movies like Knife and Heart, for example, that I thought was fantastic, that excite me. Like it excites me to see these things and to see that it's like queer centered, and it's like a fucking good movie. Like it's just like beautiful and like done well, and those things like really excite. Even watching, and I know Dry Wind's not a horror movie, but even watching that today, like there was like, it's not a horror movie, but there were just these like beautiful moments that were really exciting to me, specifically when they're on that ride together and the chromatics cover of I'm on Fire, I was really moved. And I know that's not horror, so I guess I'm kind of deviating from your question of genre, but
it's still a genre, like that kind of, I would still consider Dry Window genre film anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I'm really excited to see us, and not just horror, but like I'm really excited what queer horror is going to bring, like between some of the things that have been coming out. Especially, I just think of Knife and Heart because that's really good.
And yeah, I'll just say in terms of like the future, I mean, I hope to see other people who have their own stories to tell to just like pick up a camera and make movies, because that's like literally what we did. I mean, no, this is our first movie. None of us have even made short films before, and it's, you know, we had a story that, like, you know, you guys came up with a story that you wanted to tell, and we did it. You know what I mean? And like, there's so many stories out there that, like, a lot of times we see movies, we see the same things like rehashed over and over, and there's so many like cool, unique stories that exist that like we'd love to see. But you know, it's obviously a lot of time and effort. But like, we hope to show that like anybody can kind of do it if you put the legwork in. It's possible.
Yeah, and I think that's like, we're not just saying this because you're here, Sean, but that's I think that's what's been really cool about this experience is that like when you emailed us and you like just appreciated what we did, like we kind of felt like we were like, oh, we're home, like this is great. Like I don't know, it's just been like, it's nice. And you had mentioned at the top of this conversation about like, yeah, like supporting your local queer community, and I think that's really great. And I think people just, the possibility is out there. Like if you like, everyone in our community, everything you saw in that movie was like collaborative, and it's because people like were down for the project and they believed in it and they jumped on. So I think like I'm excited to also like pass that torch and like help others and like collaborate more, and I find that really exciting.
Because people at first it was a little hard making friends in the queer film world. We got a lot of people were a little standoffish and a little protective of them, I don't know what. But we Roman and Tyler from Scream Queen kind of took us under their wing, and they've just been absolutely fantastic. They're the real deal, 100%. We've had other queer filmmaker people reach out to them, been really great. Chris Bickle that did Theta Girl and Bad Girls, which is coming out, has been really, really cool, and just kind of, you know, chatting with us and stuff. Dustin Ferguson, another queer filmmaker, Joe Castro. And that's like the part of the reason we want to do this too. Like we want to create like a network of queer horror filmmakers or queer filmmakers in general, and just fucking network and take over and make this wave of queer cinema the biggest thing we possibly can. And like Ryan said too, we want to inspire people. Like there's so many free technologies out there that you can edit on. Like DaVinci is a free editing program. It's super user friendly and great. I recommend it. There's camera rental websites where you can rent a camera for like $50 for an entire day. And you know, there's stuff out there. People want to help, and just do it. Who cares what anyone else thinks about it? Just fucking make it. If it's gonna make you happy, do it.
No, I mean, I feel like that's so important to not only foster but also to empower people to make films. And I feel like the world is against queers everywhere, and against the outsiders and against the freaks. But I feel like if we can sort of like make it where people who do feel like they're an outsider, who do feel like they're a freak, and who don't feel like they fit into an easy box, to empower them to sort of share their story, someone else is going to appreciate that. And that, I mean, that's one of the things I love about being part of a queer film festival, is that I have a platform to provide a space for those stories and that storytelling. And I think that's the most exciting thing to me. And so when I saw your film, when it was a submission, and I watched it, and I was just like, wow. And I'm like, because it for me, it kind of touched me, because I've always felt like a freaking outsider. And I don't feel like I fit into an easy box at all. In the queer world, and and I'm completely fine with that. But at the same time, I always look for people who are my tribe, and who are somewhat like me. And I don't feel like everyone is exactly alike, but who we can share together, share stories, and also sort of like lift people up as well.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's important.
Absolutely.
Totally. And it's cool because when you do this, you just realize there's so much more out there. Like even aside from the film fest, there's so many like queer horror podcasts that exist now too. We've had the pleasure of meeting, even not even just queer horror, but horror podcasts in general. We've had the pleasure of meeting so many awesome people that are like yourself. Like they want to create a tribe and network and just like lift each other up and lift other people up and use their platforms to kind of, you know, catapult these lesser known voices into the limelight. Like we can't do this shit without people like you guys. Like it's impossible. You know, we're not getting on World of Wonder. We're not getting on like, you know, these big name festivals. Like what do we do? Just like show it to our friends in our hometown. So we need like these small festivals like that you're doing. Like it's like the bread and butter for filmmakers like us and other filmmakers. Like we wouldn't exist and have this network if, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's sort of symbiotic too, because I mean, we couldn't have a film festival if there weren't films. And the thing, what's great about us is that we've been around for a long time, and people watch what we program. So I'm hoping that you guys will get a little bump from screening here, because I want your film to do really well. Are you guys showing at Salem Horror Fest?
We are.
Yay!
Yeah. I don't know.
We love Kay. We love Kay.
Yeah, I think we can technically. Well, so we actually got an email from Kay on Saturday, and we haven't responded yet. Not because we don't want to, but it's just been such a crazy weekend with the premiere and like getting to messages and stuff. So I think we're allowed to say, but yeah we did.
Yeah.
And like you said, Kay's awesome too. We met Linnea Quigley at Salem Horror Fest via Devin from Sexcrement that did some of the scoring. And we met Kay there as well, and awesome person. And again, Salem Horror Fest, another great festival that's, you know, on the right side of history and doing some cool shit.
Yeah, we're excited for that one.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It'll be fun. So as we were sort of talking before we went live, maybe we can make another announcement. So yes, you guys have sold out your show, but because we have so much demand, I think we're gonna add another screening. So watch space. I'm gonna go create it probably after we get off. Maybe I might do it tomorrow morning because I think I might have had just a touch of too much wine around in the back end. Although who doesn't like a whiny tinkering in the back end?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I want to do another round, because I feel like this is great, and more people to see your wonderful film that is Death Drop.
Thank you.
Thank you so
It's
much.
very exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you guys for coming along and having this chat with me, and also being part of this process with the virtual festival. I know it's kind of been a little bit of an adventure for all of us. But like I said, we couldn't do it without filmmakers at all, and appreciate your patience with us, and also being partners with us, because that's kind of like, that's also one of the best things too. So.
Well, we can't thank you enough. Like this has been, for like our very first fest that we decided to premiere for, this has been nothing but like an amazing like adventure here. Like we're so grateful for Wicked Queer, and
and all the work that you've done on your end. Like you know, sometimes it's hard coordinating things, and I know it's been like probably a ton of work from you, but like you've been like super helpful the entire way and been an amazing host for our premiere. So we're super appreciative for that.
Glad to do it. I'm glad to do it. And I want to thank everybody who has joined us for the Q&A. Please go to wickedqueer.org, find out the rest of the schedule. We will put up that second screening date for Death Drop Gorgeous. Also check out the full festival. Tickets are on sale for a lot of things. If you want to see short films, they are playing throughout the fest. Support your local queer filmmakers and also our international queer filmmakers as well. And if you want to support us at Wicked Queer, there's a donation button on the website, wickedqueer.org. Thank everyone for coming, and thank you guys. And I'm sure I'll be talking to you in 20 minutes. And good night, everyone.
Good night, guys.